Hi, this is Joe with Prep Agent. I'm here with my good friend Bob Steenbach. He's the Senior Vice President of CBR, the largest commercial brokerage in the world. He has a salesperson's license, and most importantly, he's a very good friend of mine of 7 years. Correct, Bob?
That all sounds correct, except it's actually CBRE.
CBRE, thank you.
Yes.
So the reason I wanted to get you on the line is because I have a lot of people who are taking their tests and they think about residential real estate, and that's mostly what they're exposed to. I wanted you to expose them to what it takes, or even if it's a good fit for them, to get into commercial real estate, because you have a lot of experience in this field. You work for a very reputable company. So let's start with this. What is the difference between what you do and what somebody who sells for like a Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, or a residential firm does?
So generally, at least my perception of it is that residential real estate agents only sell homes to either families or individuals or second homes to them. What we tend to do is we will sell buildings and we will lease buildings and we sell investment properties, and we're able to do a variety of different types of transactions, not just sales.
And your day-to-day is a little different as well. Like the type of people you're dealing with, from the clothes you wear to the office you go to, it just has a different vibe, correct?
It tends to. It's so the two things that are probably more differentiated is that, one, yes, we're dealing with more business decisions as opposed to emotional decisions on kind of a day-to-day basis. We typically rarely, if ever, work weekends. It's more of a not 9 to 5, but I'll call it 7 to 7 kind of job. And we are typically dealing with the CFO at times, CEO sometimes, HR directors, and people of that ilk, as opposed to mom, dad, or husband, wife.
Right, so it depends on your mentality. So getting to residential is fairly obvious. Getting into commercial is a little more ambiguous to people, which is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on today. So how does somebody get into commercial? Because when you want to go to residential, they're almost courting you to come work for them, whether it's Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, or some smaller firm. Commercial is a little tougher. Can you let me know what it takes or how somebody gets involved in commercial, even if it's a possibility?
Well, so 9 times out of 10, you know somebody. My experience is that my dad knew a commercial real estate broker, and I thought real estate was kind of an interesting career choice, and I met with him, and he introduced me to some other guy, and then I kind of went on my way and started. That was really kind of it. I didn't have any business experience or pre-sales experience prior to getting into real estate. I just kind of jumped in, and that was kind of it. I didn't have a Rolodex of clients or anything like that, but at 22 when I got in, it was easy. It was, or not easy, but it was easy for me because I didn't have a whole lot of overhead and I didn't have a whole lot of smarts on what I should or shouldn't be doing, and so just kind of jumped in, and that was it.
So you were 22 and you knew somebody and you went in, you just hit the ground running, calling, knocking on doors of offices or whatever it was, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So then, and just be honest, do you think it's possible for somebody who's doing this as a second career, who maybe doesn't know somebody, to get involved in commercial?
It's hard. I will say it's a challenge, because if you need, if someone needs an income stream, particularly let's call it a Silicon Valley type income stream, it could be a year before you make a deal, and you're spending money and you're doing things and you're competing. You get frustrated because you think you should be the guy and you're not the guy, and it's a cutthroat kind of business. There's a lot of established relationships. When I got into the business, I think the average age was like 28, 29. And all it's done is gotten older and older and older. I would guess the average age of guys in the business now is probably 40, 42, something like that. Just because you don't typically leave. It's not, you don't age out. You don't have a salary. So you simply go until you don't want to do it anymore.
Which is not you. You're still rocking.
Yes, still going, and unemployable to do just about anything else, but yes, still going.
Right. Well, you could sell a car if you wanted to, right?
I guess.
Right. But you make a lot more money selling real estate. So,
Yes.
which brings me to my next question. When people hear commercial, they see the big money. Big money, I want to sell commercials, much more. But one thing we talked about yesterday when we were just chatting is it may be big money, but it's not big money for everybody. It has to be a good fit. It's that old thing. It's just potential. Potential's a big word. For some people, other parts of real estate may be a little better, whether it's residential, doing loans, or maybe even being a title rep or something of that nature, or do like me and teach for the real estate exam. What type of person should be getting into commercial? Is there a kind of background or type of persona that you think should be looking into this?
It's kind of hard to say that because there's all kinds of backgrounds that get into this industry. There are people who have been asset managers for large corporations that decide that brokerage sounds like it's more fun than managing a portfolio of properties for somebody else. I know a couple of teachers that have gone from teaching to getting into real estate, and it's been a more lucrative business for them that way. But I've also seen guys that are career salespeople who have gotten into it and failed because they don't understand the length of the sale process. Typically, it's a young person's kind of foray into it, but only probably 1 or 2 out of 10 after 5 years even make it. It's a lot. It washes out a lot faster than it does create careers or create lasting income streams. The old school was that you wanted an athlete. You wanted someone who was a collegiate athlete or someone who was a officer in their fraternity, just because you knew that they had some type of drive as the athlete goes to succeed, or that they were able to talk and talk to people if they were like an elected officer or something like that with their fraternity or in their school. But I don't know if that's necessarily the same today as it was back when I got in.
What's interesting, what you said, was how you've seen teachers be successful and lifetime salesmen not be successful. And I kind of wonder how that teacher was able to be successful even though they don't have the sales background. Like, what do you think was about them that made them be able to jump in? Because there are a lot of people listening who are doing a full change of careers, and that could provide a little hope to them hearing that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's because they were more interested in helping, right? Teachers help, teachers teach, they educate, and they tend to over information you. And some people love that. There's some industries that really need more and more and more information. The sales guys, they will typically just want to get in, make a quick sale, and get out. That's not really how it works in commercial, because you have a few other things that you have to take care of, not necessarily money makers, but you're going to be, throwing out names for, you got to have contacts in construction, you got to have contacts in furniture, in the furniture system, cubicle type of stuff, electricians, cabling guys, stuff like that. And so you're constantly interacting with that client or those clients for years and years and years, because you want the next lease that they would likely do, or to sell their building, or kind of whatever. It typically on the residential side, you don't turn homes very often. In our world, typically it's 3 to 7 years, and there's another transaction.
Right, and that teacher has that patience to achieve that goal you were just talking about.
Yes, they do. They're like I said, they're an information provider more than they're a salesperson, and that's a lot of what people will tend to want in the business world. They just want to know they're making the right decision.
And when I'm connecting that teacher and having to know somebody, teachers don't always know people in this business, and so it sounds like the big difference between residential and commercial. Your first sale is finding somebody to take you on to their company. So it sounds like maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody wants to get in commercial, they may have to go to real estate networking events, shake a bunch of hands, make a few contacts, find somebody who will introduce them to the business because they need that connection.
Yes, you're right. They do, and it needs to be someone who will really mentor them. You don't want to get. I've seen plenty of guys say, "Oh yeah, I want a young person to come in here and kind of do the work I don't want to do." Well, that's just part of it. The other part is that having someone that you're mentoring is a lot of time and effort and trust that you may or may not want to do. And it's a challenge sometimes because you're going to put in, the hours that you do to do your business every day, and then you put in more hours to train someone, and it becomes a bit of a grind. And you're just kind of hoping that new person kind of works out, and you guys end up partnering or doing things together on from a transaction basis.
Makes sense. And last but not least, you mentioned that turnaround time. A lot of people make the connection. They get into the business, and they're very excited. I'm in commercial. I'm going to be a gabillionaire or whatever it may be. But then they're out within, what'd you say, 3 years, I think you said?
Yeah, 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years?
Yep.
Why? Like, what's the big challenge for them? Is it just simple, it's hard to get a sale, it's difficult getting clients at the beginning? Is it like the basic challenge that salespeople have, or is there something more to it?
Well, it's twofold. The answer is yeah, there's that, but the other is that our sales cycle is really long. Our sales cycle tends to be 6 to 9 months from initial contact to close of a deal. And, you may go out and do a 3-year lease with 5,000 square foot company. And once you make a sale, you do a whole bunch of work, and all of a sudden you see your paycheck and say, well, why is it so small? And you start figuring it out. Well, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that long of a lease, and you got to split with the house. And it typically will. I would tell you that it will take as much time to do a 5,000 square foot deal as it does a 50,000 square foot deal. And although finding those 50,000 square foot deals are a lot harder.
Right. Obviously, it's more competitive for the big prize.
Exactly. And so the problem ends up being that you start spending a lot of time on smaller transactions, and you have to do a whole bunch of them. And then that becomes a huge time management issue. So it's interesting that there's, I know guys in my office, they'll do 100 deals a year. And they range in size from, 1,000, 1,200 square feet on up to 100,000 square feet. But they are kind of deal junkies. They like to do it that way. I don't, that's not my deal, and I don't like to do 100 transactions a year. It's a lot of paperwork. But there are guys who like to do that. There's some guys that I know, they make 10 deals a year, and they're just happy doing that. They don't want to manage anything more than that.
But the big lesson I'm hearing, regardless of which angle they go, there is a level of patience and time you need. Because those guys who make that big money that they see them, people getting in, they see the commercial people, it's not immediate. I mean, it sounds like, if I'm hearing it correctly, it's a good 10 years before you're making that big money.
If you do. It's still a 80-20 rule. I mean, 80% of the money is maybe 20% of the people. And I think that, the mistake that some real estate agents make is, and when I buy houses, when I've bought my home and then sold a home, I use a residential real estate agent because I don't know all the ins and outs of what that entails. There's oftentimes where I see a residential real estate agent try and do a commercial deal, and I can almost guarantee that they'll screw it up. Simply because they don't have the experience and they don't have the acumen to help the client in determining if it's a good deal, bad deal, or if it's the right deal even to do. And they get dollar signs in their eyes, and they're too focused on that in order to try and just get in the way of a deal than to actually have a deal that will be good for both sides. I mean, you always want a win-win kind of situation, but they're always trying to just, establish themselves as the contact and then hope that it all works out. Right.
So that's a lot of great info. And as we wind up, we stated, unfortunately, a bunch of negatives, like how scary it is to get in, how you could get knocked out early, and a lot of challenges. But let's end on the positive with this. And my understanding of the positive, if you can find that contact, and if you find a way into the business, and you are patient, and you work hard, and you follow the rules of the game that, entail commercial real estate, you can make a lot of money on your own schedule, and that can be very satisfying, correct?
It is. You forgot one thing, though.
What's that?
You got to get lucky.
Oh, that's more negative. That's not positive.
But that's how it all works. You can almost just about every person in the commercial real estate industry would tell you that there is an element of luck.
Didn't Paul Newman say that? Paul Newman said anybody who's enjoyed a tremendous amount of success has to credit a certain amount of luck. It's not all how hard you work and how skilled you are. If you have a tremendous amount of success, you have to thank your lucky stars a little bit.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
Right. Well, on that note, somebody needs persistence, they need patience, a good contact, and a little luck.
There you go.
Well, there you go. Well, thank you very much for your insight. Hopefully those give people a little more idea of what they're getting into when they look into commercial real estate. And I appreciate it. And anything else you want to say?
I think that's about it. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right, bye.